Hey, making good people defenseless does not make bad people harmless. Gun control laws only disarm the law-abiding. Murder, rape, and assault are already against the law. And do you really think a law that bans concealed carry will stop a criminal? Will help us fight back and become a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. We make that activism easy. So join today. Go to SDCGO.org/join and sign up to be a member today. Because together we will win.
Happy Taylor Swift Day.
Yeah, give me a break. Are you a Swiftie? Are you a Swiftie, really?
Am I ever? You know what cracks me up,
I'm
Dave?
a Toby Keith fan. Thank you very much.
You know what cracks me up is every American male over the age of 40 is irate at the amount of attention the NFL is giving this 32 or whatever year old pop star. Like, who cares?
Have you heard her songs?
Yeah, it's.
What do you think?
Okay, so all
It's
right,
as commercial,
you know what?
It's as commercial as a commercial.
I'll tell you what I think. Because I've actually, I don't mind going down rabbit holes. Like when somebody's really popular, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Like I remember like Billie Eilish. I went down, and I'm like, why is she? And I was actually very impressed. And I found out her brother is actually a very talented musician, and the two of them together. Her voice is kind of lackluster, but okay. Taylor Swift is as saccharine as it gets. It's she writes her songs, which should be commended.
Yep.
There's nothing complicated. She's not like an innovative musician.
Nope.
There's nothing, but whatever. Music is just physics. Mm-hmm. It's just, hey, these chords sound good together because they resonate. They don't, So, okay, whatever, But the thing is, the music's whatever. It doesn't really. The lyrics speak to every disenchanted girl. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're not written by some staffer in a studio somewhere. Yeah. So she's just like, oh, I broke up with so and so, and here's how I feel.
All the hearts.
That's it. That's all it is. So you have this pop star that doesn't matter, who's doing music that doesn't matter. And she's dating she's a billionaire. She's dating some millionaire who plays a sport that doesn't matter.
Right.
And everybody's irate. And I'm like, okay, so I've been all over my Facebook, my personal Facebook.
I know.
just stoking the flames because I can't believe the meltdown. I don't watch football. I don't listen to her music. I don't care about any of it. I know, but I do love slaying golden calves.
Yeah, you do.
And it's just like,
okay, so now let's ask the lady in the house.
Okay.
I mean,
do your daughters listen? Do you listen?
They don't. No, I don't. No, I think she. I feel like she came. No, I think she came a generation after what I would have been into that, and my kids were too young, and then now it's.
So let me ask you this. I mean, I look at her as being plugged in, where at one time it was Britney Spears. Another time,
I wasn't a fan of her either.
I
may not be the right one to ask.
But she fills a niche.
Hey, you know what's funny? You know who plugged her in? Toby Keith.
Did he really?
I'm not. When she was originally signed to his label.
To his
label.
No kidding.
He discovered her. So it's funny you just said
you're
that.
You're breaking Dave's heart right now.
No,
you're achy
because
heart?
I think she. Okay, Miley Cyrus. I know, but I'm just saying.
I think she's a catastrophe of a person. I mean,
and
I don't understand.
They filled a notch.
All right, okay. Actually, we cannot talk. We're going to get so much.
We were talking
hate.
Food.
I know. We can't talk about it. I'll end with the funniest Taylor Swift / Travis Kelce joke I heard the whole time. When everybody's getting all excited, is somebody said Travis Kelce scoring sixes on and off the field. I thought
that's even.
Because, she's like a 6.
1-800-MICHAEL. That's 1-800-MICHAEL for all complaints.
That's right. Okay, you know what? Gun Show, go to gunownersradio.com. Gun Show is first weekend of March 2nd and 3rd. What we need you to do right now is go to gunownersradio.com and buy your movie tickets for Second Amendment Movie Night. We're going to see the Wolverine movie. Can't mention the name because of the contract. It's kind of weird. Thank you, San Diego County Libertarian Party, for sponsoring movie night. That's very, very awesome of you guys. The SDLPs are the sponsor, our movie night sponsors. So thank you so much. One thing I wanted to talk about that's very important. The thing that differentiates us from other YouTube channels, other podcasts, other radio shows, whatever, that have to do with the Second Amendment, is that this is an activist show. This isn't just, let's talk about a lawsuit and let's all complain and whine and whatever. We're actually activists. We actually do things to change policy. We don't just tell you bad news or good news or analysis. We're not just the same thing that you hear all the time. So I want to talk about something that happened last week. On Tuesday, the County Board of Supervisors voted to put in 18 new suggestions that were the result of the gun violence report that they did last year that we were very engaged with. We beat it down as much as possible. When they voted on it last spring, we beat it. It was a 2-2 vote. But then they elected Monica Montgomery-Steppe, and she voted the wrong way, is really what all it boils down to. I invite you to go to sdcgo.org/blog, B-L-O-G, and read my write-up about what happened. In fact, it's pretty amazing. I was there the whole time. I watched the meeting. The meeting was an absolute catastrophe. The county board meeting has turned into a weirdo circus of weirdos. There are like 6 gadflies that comment on every single item. It is horrible. It went on at least 3 hours longer than it should have. But here's the deal. Here's what Supervisor Joel Anderson, and Supervisor Jim Desmond did. They said, look, out of these 18 proposals, half of them are not bad. They support, suicide prevention. They support community outreach so that people don't become criminals, stuff like that. And so I actually worked with Joel and said, here are the good ones, here are the bad ones. Now, the term is bifurcate. Bifurcate means that they took what they wanted, they split it up. So there were 18 measures in one measure, but they split it up. They said, hey, we want to bifurcate the good ones, the ones that would help people who are suicidal. Let's pull that out. And then leave alone the anti-gun stuff, right? So the idea was, hey, Monica, just vote for the good stuff. Don't vote for the anti-gun stuff. Well, she voted for the whole thing. Joel and Jim did bifurcate it. They did try to pull out the good stuff and leave out the anti-gun stuff, but they were unfortunately outvoted. Now, the significance of this is, she talks a lot, especially when she was in office on the city council and then, going into the election. One of her main things is that she talks about a lot is institutional racism. Now, this isn't about institutional racism, so I don't care where you stand on institutional racism. What I do care about is that gun laws, absolutely, in California, gun laws fit the definition of institutional racism. We've talked about that on the show before. So what they describe as institutional racism, gun laws in California absolutely fit that. In other words, there is a disproportionately large amount of gun laws, and they are disproportionately used against the black and brown community. It fits the exact definition of institutional racism. You would think then that she would recognize after I explained it, that, hey, if I vote for these recommendations, I am contributing to the institutional racism problem, but her anti-gun influence overtook, and she voted for it anyway. What it will do is, the main thing I was against, that we're all against, that made this thing horrible, is they hired an employee and they set up an office that's the gun violence prevention office on the county level.
Really?
And this person's whole purpose is to just do anti-gun stuff. I mean, it's really, truly what it amounts to. Monica Montgomery-Steppe has contributed to the institutional racism that she says she's against by not voting for the reasonable stuff, the anti-suicide stuff, and voting for and to include the anti-gun stuff. So,
and starting her own office.
Well, yeah, they all did. The county has this anti-gun office, and she could have been the vote to save that. Instead, she chose to pick her anti-gun extremism over principles, and I think it's horrible. So that's what's going on. So how does it change your life now? It doesn't change your life right now, except you got to support Kevin Faulkner, who we've endorsed for supervisor, because we got to undo all this stuff now. So a big focus going into the 2024 election, Kevin Faulkner, we're going to get him elected on the board, and we're going to undo all this stuff.
Hey, gun owners, listen up. If you ever have legal matters that involve firearms, you need California's best firearm lawyer, and that means John Dillon. He can help you with red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, so put his number on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon's California firearm lawyer at 760-642-7150.
John Dillon's the best. He did a great job last week of explaining what happened in the Miller case. So thank you so much, John Dillon. All right, our first guest from Project Rampart, which we're going to learn all about. I'm very interested in hearing the particulars and the specifics on Project Rampart. From Dan Kramer. Dan, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you for coming on the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet. So tell us about. Okay, so give us the the elevator speech, as they say, on Project Rampart. What is Project Rampart?
In a nutshell, we're trying to stop the Californication of America. We're dedicated to preventing this. Yeah, exactly. We're dedicated to preventing the spread of California's disastrous policies through the rest of the country. We do not want the failed policies of Gavin Newsom and his cronies to become the law of the land. And that's it. So you can visit the rampartproject.com and you'll get a lot more detail. Happy to answer any questions.
There is no better cause or purpose on the planet than stopping the Californication of the rest of the United States, specifically Gavin Newsom. What a disaster. And it feels like so not only is he a disaster, so it's one thing if you were a disaster and just was here and he was a disaster, but it honestly feels like he is this dark, horrible storm on the horizon. It doesn't feel like he's just going to stay here in California. It feels like he's moving east with all his horrible policies. And so I think this is really, really wonderful. I'm not a fan of this guy in any way. I think he's an absolute disaster. He's horrible. I'm assuming, I know you watched the debate with DeSantis.
We did, yes.
What were your thoughts on that?
I think that was a wake-up call to the vast majority of the country who is not acquainted with him. I think that was his purpose, too. He was out there positioning himself as the guy that's presidential material in waiting. He was trying out not just for the independents and Republicans, but for the Democrats. And that's really what we're talking about. He's really positioning himself for a White House bid. Don't let any of his protestations to the contrary fool you. He is doing everything he can, from writing checks to local parties, endorsing people all across the United States, and performing as a surrogate for President Biden. And the real aim, of course, is to get him into the White House, whether it's as a VP or a presidential nominee. And it's very clear that he's aiming at the delegates at the Democrat National Convention in August. So look for a lot more high profile from him between now and then.
It's interesting, too. So a lot of times when there's like a chief executive, like a governor or even someone in the White House, everything that happens legislatively is blamed on that executive, when in reality, an executive's job is not legislation. Their job is to implement policy, and basically, run the workers, not pass legislation. But Gavin Newsom, huge exception. He absolutely champions the policies, that happen underneath him. I mean, he's put out propositions. He is 100% behind so many of the policies. In fact, I'd argue that he's not a good executive in any way. He's really kind of this super legislator, in an executive position, and he really doesn't have the skill set. He certainly doesn't have the track record of success as an executive. I don't know. Do you agree? Disagree?
The mainstream media is ignoring all that. They see a fresh, pretty face, somebody who can be the standard bearer for the party, somebody who looks good on TV, is not afraid to mix it up. I mean, that's what they see out there. And we see Newsom and his cronies as the biggest existential threat to our country. I mean, your listeners know that better than anyone. Imagine Newsom and his cronies in charge of the ATF, advancing his proposed constitutional amendment on gun control from the biggest bully pulpit in the world. I mean, the next president is likely to get at least one or maybe more Supreme Court justices and hundreds of federal judicial appointments. Gavin and his team could be in Washington for 8 years. Think of that damage.
Yeah, well, you're right. Gun owners have known this for a long time. I mean, he was behind Prop 63. So many of the lawsuits that we're struggling to get through and win. Now we're having a lot of success, but it's taking millions of dollars. It's taking years, and we're still going to feel some of the effects. There's still some of the things that we're not going to get rid of because of Prop 63 and some of the other things. You know what's interesting, Dan, is there is let's see, was it last Friday? There's a senator down here who's extremely anti-gun. And she partnered with our sheriff, who's very, pro-Second Amendment. We helped get her elected. The state senator is Blakespear. And the sheriff said, hey, when somebody becomes a prohibited person and can no longer own a gun, the government actually follows up and says, hey, we want to make sure that you got rid of your gun or did whatever it takes. You're a prohibited person. You no longer own a gun. But what's happening is, in effect, in practice, I should say, law enforcement is showing up on the doorstep of a prohibited person, a day or two after they became a prohibited person, and that person has had no warning. So you have a law enforcement officer showing up saying, hey, I need your guns, to a prohibited armed person. Okay, clearly not a good practice. Certainly is potentially dangerous for the law enforcement officer. So she said, hey, we got to fix this. Blakespear, the anti-gunner, jumped on it and said, oh, it's a gun thing. I'm going to, jump on this. And basically what they're doing is they're putting together a bill that will turn into a law that requires the DOJ to send a letter to prohibited people saying, hey, here are your options. That shouldn't have to be a law. That is simply an executive action. All you have to do is go to a competent executive and say, hey, your DOJ isn't communicating and it's putting our officers in danger. But the guy is so incompetent, Gavin Newsom, that they actually have to turn this into a law, which is crazy. Absolutely. If there's no better example or few better examples of total incompetence than an ally like Blakespear having to pass a law to get Gavin Newsom to send a letter to prohibited people explaining, hey, you got to give up your guns, one of 10 different ways or whatever it is. It's just absolutely amazing.
He does get involved in the minutia. But more importantly for your listeners, we've already been, the project it's a nonprofit. It's a 501c4. Mm-hmm. So we cannot advocate for or against electorally any candidate at any level. Okay. In return for that, our donors we're allowed to keep our donors anonymous. So we will not ever disclose the names or identities of our donors, nor will we have to, according to the law. Something I think your members might find of interest is we've been communicating with independents and Republicans in some of the early battleground primary states. And while there is an awareness of Gavin and his whole entourage, and the awareness is generally bad, I mean, people don't think real highly of him. They really don't know much about him. And so the primary reason that we put this organization together is to define Gavin and his cronies before they could define themselves in these early battleground states with independents who he would need to win over, and also to communicate with the delegates and superdelegates at the DNC, because those are the people that are likely going to pick the next nominee. So that's what we're all about. We've done 40-second commercials in some of these states. We've sent out tens of thousands of targeted emails. We've sent out hundreds of thousands of targeted text messages, and we've reached hundreds of thousands of voters in 6 different states. You can go to the website and look at some of the material that we produce, and you'll have a better idea for how we're getting there.
Do you think that that there is a realistic possibility that he's going to step in for Biden this summer, or do you think he's setting himself up for 4 years from now?
We would not be doing this if we didn't think that the threat was imminent.
Wow.
He is definitely doing it. He and his team are the only ones that are out there working across the United States, making contributions to local and state politicians, with a super PAC that he set up, standing in for the president, really auditioning for the presidency in all of these different venues. So he is the only one, he and his team are the only ones with the means, motivation, and positioning to be there if our current president steps aside or there's some kind of intrigue at the convention, at the Democrat convention.
It's unbelievable.
So let me ask a question, Dan. Do you really think Kamala will just step aside and let this happen?
It's a good question.
Anything can happen in the heat of, the back and forth during the convention. I think her polling numbers are in the low 30s, if that high right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that, or at least in my humble opinion, that she would be the standard bearer, for their party. I just can't see it. And so the way that the superdelegates and the regular delegates work at the Democrat National Committee is they can replace anybody they want, put anybody into those slots that they want to, and if that happens, Gavin and his people and his team will be there, to capitalize on that.
Wow. Hey, you want to learn to fly?
Yes.
You want to get a pilot's license?
Maybe.
Well, San Diego is one of the best places to learn to fly an airplane. You can get your license and fly almost every day. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International. Gun Owner Radio listeners only. Check it out, 1 hour of free ground school, 1 hour of flight with an instructor, and you get to fly. That's a $400 value, and you'll get it for $350. Give them a call today, 858-569-1822, or just go learn to fly with SDFTI, or 858-569-1822.
So we're talking with Dan Kramer from Project Rampart, which is attempting to ring the bell and warn the nation about how horrible Gavin Newsom is and all his failures here in California in order to stop the spread of Gavin Newsom. He's a rash.
No offense.
We want to stop the spread of Gavin Newsom.
And no offense to this program, but really? I mean, do we need a group like this to let people know what a doorknob is?
You know what's hard is the people outside of California. They just see, like you said, you see a pretty face who speaks well. They're not going to take the time to look into his past.
But I mean, that's actually a really good question, Dan. When they saw him debate DeSantis, that, like you said, that was the nation's first taste. Why wasn't that the death nail in his coffin? Why, do you think did he poll well? Do you think people actually looked at him and said, "Wow, this guy's doing great"?
His audience was not Republicans. His audience was independents and Democrats, and in particular, the folks who will pull the lever at the convention to vote for whomever potentially replaces our current president. Those are the folks that he was auditioning for, not Republicans.
So what does that? So explain that. So what does that mean? I think what you're saying is that, and I'm not a Republican, but I tend to be right of center, and Dave's not. I don't know if you're a Republican or not, Dave.
I'm right of center.
We tend to be right of center. So I think what you're saying is we didn't like him because we disagree with him, but a bunch of independents out there and a bunch of Democrats saw his performance, and they were like, yeah, this is our guy.
That is exactly right. And unfortunately, what we've seen on the ground in some of the survey work that we've done is that is exactly what is happening. Unfortunately, as well, it's happening in some pretty key battleground states. So the power brokers at the DNC see it, and they're saying to themselves, well, this guy and all of his folks, run the fifth largest economy in the world. He's a fresh new face. He represents very progressive policy agenda. That's where that's where we're going as a group. He could be the one.
What are some of the policies? Like, I look at his policies. I don't like him because he's anti-gun. He's the spending in California is crazy. The taxes in California is crazy. He's letting criminals out of jail. He's giving benefits to illegal aliens. Like, I could go on and on and on. I mean, I can't think of anything this guy's doing right. What policies and what is the spin on the policy? What policies are looking good to Democrats? Like, what do they see and go, wow, that's great, that's successful?
Shockingly, I know to all of us, surveys revealed that when you're talking to the Democrat primary voter, that they like what they hear, they like what they see, and they want more of it, whatever that is. And of course, their goal is to win, and they believe, many of them do, that Gavin and his team can be the standard bearer.
So it's not so much they're going, hey, these specific policies sure did work well. They're just going, hey, I think this guy could probably get into the ring, throw punches, and
that's exactly right.
And they're not really vetting him.
They want to win, right? They want to win, and they think he might be able to carry that banner to victory.
Well, he is their best shot, really. I hate to say it. When you look at everybody that would, step in for Biden, I mean, who else would you recommend? I mean, who else are they even looking at? I don't even think they're looking at anybody else.
Yeah, who's on the bench? Is there anybody that you know of that's like who's among his peers? That might be a better I don't even want to say a better alternative. Just might be an alternative.
Those that are mentioned are, of course, Michelle Obama, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan,
right.
Pritzker in Illinois. Those names have been floated out there, although none of them appear to be as engaged on a national level as Newsom and his team. They certainly haven't put together all of the infrastructure to advance a future campaign.
Well, Dan, it looks to me like, because if you really look at what Newsom has done to San Francisco, and then you look what he's done to California, it seems to me the Democratic Party has said, all right, here's who's going to take Biden's place. And it's not Pritzker, and it's not any of the other folks that you mentioned. This is our guy. We're going to put it all behind him, and we're going to run with it. I don't think the other people have a voice in this. Do you think?
So it's not just him. It's bringing all of the people that implemented those policies that you talked about in California to Washington, D.C. to do the exact same thing.
The Adam Schiffs of the world?
That's what's scary about this. It's not just him. It's the whole apparatus.
Well, he is bringing a team in. There's no doubt about it.
I've seen something that gives me a slight bit of hope. It certainly isn't enough that we should all, rest on our laurels. But I've seen in the last few weeks something that gives me just a glimmer of hope, in that you have a couple of people who are kind of thought leaders on the left who have parted ways with and heavily criticized Gavin Newsom, specifically because of his policies. One is Anna Kasparian. I don't know if she's still with the Young Turks, but that's where she was at one point. She's been really critical of Gavin Newsom. And then Bill Maher has been really critical of Gavin Newsom. Does that give you any hope at all? Do you think that's legit, or do you think that they would turn and support him in a second?
Well, Bill Maher has said he's going to support him. As recently as, I believe, last week. Oh. Even when asked, what do you like about him, he said, I think he can win.
Oh. Way to take my hope away, Dan. Thanks.
Sorry. And remember, as we're talking about this stuff, we're a nonpartisan group. We are not really allowed to talk about electioneering or to advance one candidate over another, but we can talk about.
You talk about the facts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell us
really what we're doing.
I don't want to believe me. I understand. With working, 501c3s, 501c4s, PACs, they all have different, rules and pluses and minuses, whatever. So, guide the conversation a little bit more. What else would you like to get out to our listeners? Maybe specifically to gun owners, or just San Diegans and Californians in general, or people that hear this outside of California. What do you want them to know, and what can they do, or what do you want them to do?
Well, there's a couple of easy things they can do. Go to our website, therampartproject.com today. Sign up for free email alerts, which will give them anybody who signs up, give them weekly progress updates, where we're at, what we're doing, what's happening. Of course, make a secure, anonymous donation of any size. That's always helpful. Follow us on social media. All of our social media accounts are up on the website, therampartproject.com. Those are the easy things that people can do. In terms of the takeaway, we do need volunteers, and we are recruiting some in key states. If anybody's interested in volunteering on the ground, there's a phone number on the website and there's an email address on the website. They can do that as well. But really, we're educating the public and trying to keep him from heading to D.C. with his team, with his so-called brain trust, to do to California, to do to the United States what he's done to California. That's the bottom line. And we don't believe he's positioning himself for 2028. We believe he's positioning himself for August.
What types of are you allowed to specifically talk more about? What is there a particular? Are you allowed to specifically talk about what policies that you vehemently disagree with, or that have failed?
Yeah. So, I mean, what we've done, and again, you can take a look at some of our work on the website, but we have started talking in very simple terms about what's broken in California. And I know it sounds silly, and you all are laughing at that, but most of the country just has a very vague awareness of Gavin and his whole team and what they've done here. They think it's bad, but they don't really understand how bad things are, particularly if you're just kind of paying attention, right? We talked about some of the things that we're trying to get out there. Welfare woes. 1/3 of the nation's welfare recipients call California home. Almost half of California's homeless population resides in California. We have the highest gas prices in the United States. At one point in the not too distant past, California's high school test scores were in the top 10 of all major states. Now we're at the very bottom, and we're either the last or second to last. I think we trade back and forth with Mississippi. 14.3 income tax rate, the highest in America for top earners, is driving innovation, companies, and individuals out of California. And you all know that. And there's another backdoor tax on the way, so that'll be even higher soon. Within the next year or so. I mean, he's looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in budget shortfalls, among the highest sales tax rate in the country. I mean, the list goes on. I mean,
does he? Let me ask you specifically. Does he, with independents and Democrats, where does he score as far as how they feel he did with handling COVID?
They don't even discuss that. For the most progressive, this might scare you, but they really agree with his approach on COVID.
God,
I mean, it's scary, guys.
Yeah,
and gals.
I was afraid of that. I mean, he couldn't have done a worse job, and I was afraid that he was going to get accolades from all the wrong people.
He is.
Oh,
and
my.
Electricity prices, housing prices. I mean, the fact that people are leaving in droves. The mainstream media just won't report that, or they don't give it the import that it deserves. And so we're trying to make our small contribution to educating folks outside of California what we here already know, and the disastrous policies and the disaster that it would be for the United States of America if he were, to be back in Washington, D.C.
Well, thanks for joining us. Guys. What's your website?
It is www.therampartproject.com.
Therampartproject.com. Thank you so much for coming on and talk to us. And thank you so much for doing this. I'm certainly gun owners are not a fan of this guy, so let's get rid of him.
Give up, folks. There was a little bit of negative news there, but don't let that get you down.
That's right.
Keep up the fight. If Dan can do it, we can do it.
Thank you, Dan.
Hey, Riverside and San Bernardino. Even the Bruin case, the gun grabbers are getting even more desperate. Let's face it, all these laws disarm only the people that would use a gun to defend themselves. Fight back and do something to defend your Second Amendment right. Join Inland Empire gun owners right now. We're growing the 2A community, and we're getting more pro 2A officials elected. Membership is only $10 per month, so joining is easy. Just go to iegunowners.com/join.
So one of the cool things we're going to have at the gun show, March 2nd and 3rd at the Legacy Center. For more information, go to the gunownersradio.com, and you can buy tickets. You can see all kinds of cool specifics. Of course, you can buy movie tickets. But one of the cool things we're going to have at the gun show is the training deal table, where you can find training at a discount of all kinds. So we wanted to have on Garrett Post. He's one of the Instructor Alliance members, and he is with the Protectors USA. We wanted to have Garrett come on and talk about his training and what they do and how they're going to be there at the gun show as well. So, Garrett, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
You bet, man. Thanks for being on the show. How are you today?
Good. We got the Taylor Swift Bowl going on.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up.
I was going to say, thanks for taking a break from from Taylor Swift to, talk to us and say hello. So talk about the Protectors USA. Give us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a USCCA certified instructor. You guys actually had my good friend Jim Bellinger on, I think, in December.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love the dude. He's one who certified me in my concealed carry and home defense fundamentals course.
Nice.
So I do that, and I also have the AR-15 fundamental certification. I had to fly all the way to Alabama for that one. Super fun, though. Always a good excuse to go to real America.
Where in Alabama? I'm just curious. Where in Alabama was it?
Hoover, so just outside of Birmingham.
Oh, okay.
Sean and Beth Alcazar taught the class. Super awesome people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So I don't know if anybody's ever had a chance to take a class from them. If you're in that area, do it. But I couldn't help but listen to the last guest you guys had on, and yeah, I couldn't agree with him more on making sure California doesn't go national.
No kidding, right? It was pretty interesting trying to and the marching orders there. Like, okay, how do we stop California from spreading to the rest of the country? Well, first we got to stop Gavin Newsom. He's the delivery unit for everything bad in California, and there's so much. So yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. So how did you get into instruction? What was your path?
Well, I got into guns. My dad bought me my first gun when I was 19, birthday present. It was a 22 bolt action rifle. So over the last 10 years, I've kind of gone deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of gun ownership, as one does. You never satisfy a gun; it gets lonely. You got to buy it a friend. That's
right.
And then you got to buy another guy in case they get mad at each other or something.
Yeah, and you got to have a carry gun for every outfit. I get it.
Exactly. You got your summer carry gun, your winter carry gun, lunch for lunch carry gun, right? So you got all that. But I went down that whole adventure, and then the last few years especially, I've taken several of my good friends out and taught them how to shoot. They'd never shot before, very limited experience. And I didn't charge them anything. I just took them out for fun because I enjoy shooting guns.
Sure.
And my friends were like, hey, you're pretty good at this. You should, do it. And I went, I do like money. I do like making money, and I enjoy teaching people. So I kind of just decided to do that. I looked into the courses, signed up for the one with Jim, and, now I'm out here where I've been getting a couple of certifications. I have the emergency first aid fundamentals one. I also have the women's handgun self-defense one, or self-defense fundamentals. Can't remember the exact name of it. Let me look it up real quick.
It is amazingly rewarding, though, isn't it? Teaching someone who's, maybe they've never shot before, or maybe they've shot before and don't know what they don't know. But watching somebody come along from one place in their shooting career and getting better, and ending up being somewhere, in a whole better place, it's amazingly rewarding, isn't it?
It's awesome. I started teaching years ago. I'm a basketball player growing up. So I started teaching kids basketball and helping out with kids camps, and really loved that. So this is kind of the newer passion of the firearms and the Second Amendment community, plus still teaching and helping people grow. And the thing is, for me, the best part about this is seeing people feel comfortable in themselves and feel confident in their ability to defend themselves from bad people. That's the best thing to me about this whole deal.
Nice. Yeah, but what's your favorite success story? Do you have a student that you were so impressed with, or somebody that came in and left in so much better a place, or what's a good success story for you?
Well, for me, I'm still really new, so unfortunately I don't have a lot of stories like that. But what I can say is from the classes I've taught so far, I've had the students I've taken my AR class, so far none of them have shot their AR before that they brought, which is kind of hilarious. It's not a big sample size, but they'd never actually shot the gun, although they had experience with guns. They just hadn't shot their AR or even an AR before. So that was pretty fun. They went from know nothing about it to by the end of the class, they were super comfortable with all the operations of it and totally understood what to do, which is really cool for me.
Well, I bought my AR when I was 21. I might have been 22. I think it was 21. Bought my AR when I was 21 or 22. And, I didn't serve in the military. And so I didn't have any background at all. And I got to tell you, it's a little hard to admit that, hey, I bought this thing and I don't know how to use it. And honestly, at 22, I didn't know that I didn't know how to use it. And I remember I had to go to, I bought it from Discount Gun Mart, and I went to P2K, and P2K range down here in San Diego.
Is that where those holes in the walls came from?
And, kind of had to teach myself, and it's hard to admit, hey, you know what? I'm not an expert on this thing. I don't know, maybe it's harder for men. Maybe we have a little bit more of an ego when it comes to guns, but it was hard to, figure out, how do I learn how to do this? So, these kind of classes are enormously helpful, and it doesn't surprise me that they showed up with a gun that they bought and had never used before.
Yeah, and they took the class because they wanted to learn how to use it. That's the thing is, men, we don't like to ask for directions. We don't like to ask for instructions. We pull out something out of the box, we throw the instruction booklet in the trash immediately.
That's right.
That's just how it's funny, but with, guns, it's not great. YouTube's a great reference for us to learn stuff, but in-person instruction is completely different because you might be doing something slightly incorrect, and that's going to mess you up for your training going forward.
That's right. YouTube and Google is very useful, but, before there was YouTube and Google, testosterone. Everything I need to know comes from testosterone. So, it works.
Exactly. And it's funny, but that is just how we are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people coming in to train is the best thing. And you also make new friends. You come in, you take classes, you meet like-minded people that are on the same journey as you, and it takes you even further and inspires you even more. Right. I have a good friend. He got into guns because of a little, and joking. We had a fun little conversation. We were messing with each other, and he was like, "You know what? I should probably buy some guns." Hilarious story for another time. But we were just out shooting the other day, and we're pushing each other. It's like, hey, we got to do this, got to get better, and it's just a wonderful community. And that's what I love about the Second Amendment community. It's just a complete brotherhood of everyone, right? Men, women, doesn't matter.
Okay.
You welcome in, we welcome you in.
Okay, so the training deal table, what is, I think, if I'm reading my notes correctly here, Garrett, you're going to tell us what your deal is that's going to be on the training deal table. Is that right?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I haven't done the paperwork yet, but I'll do it in the next day or two. Okay. I'm going to offer one of my 2-hour lessons. I'm going to have the class limited to 4 people, so it's a semi-private lesson. And normally my 2-hour lessons are $150. So for the deal table, it'll be the 25% off of that for the students.
25% off training for a semi-private class with Garrett Post from the Protectors USA. I think that's very awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the gun show, which is amazing and generous. I really appreciate you helping us, with our vision and get to where we're trying to go with this gun show /gun symposium. But thank you from the listeners too. We really appreciate you being generous and making sure that they can afford training, and I think that's really, really great. Thanks, man.
That's awesome, and that's for both the pistol class and the rifle class. So either one of those, or if you just want to have a general range day because we're gonna all work it out together. So students will buy it's like a gift card, right? Students will buy that and they'll reach out to me. So whatever they want to schedule, I'll make it happen.
Okay, cool. The Protectors USA. How do people find you online, Garrett?
Well, I have a website, theprotectorsusa.com. So go to that. There's an email on there. It goes right to me.
Awesome. Garrett, thank you so much. Appreciate your support, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad you guys were able to have me on.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. So everybody, come to the gun show. That's just an example of one of the things we're going to have is the training deal table where you're going to get discounts on training. You'll get to find training on pistol, rifle, shotgun, AR, all kinds of cool stuff. So buy tickets today. Go to www.gunownersradio.com. Buy your tickets for the gun show today.
Help Orange County gun owners. Get the right people elected in Orange County, people that will stand up and protect your gun rights. How? By becoming a member today. Go to OCGunOwners.com/join. Now is the time to join the growing number of gun owners who care and want to protect our Second Amendment rights. Go to OCGunOwners.com/join and become a member today.
All right. Subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list, and you'll win some. Maybe you'll maybe win some swag. But you can't win unless you enter. So this week's winner is Raymond Middleton. Thank you, Raymond, for having an easy-to-pronounce name and for subscribing and winning. All you got to do is email prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your T-shirt or hat. I would recommend, Raymond, that you send us what your size is, and that will just about guarantee success. So as we were talking about, San Diego Gun Show, March 2nd and 3rd. Tickets are on sale now. There's so much to see and do. Today we're going to highlight number 3, invite a friend in church security to the How to Identify a Public Threat class. So this isn't just your run-of-the-mill gun show, Alicia.
Yes.
I know that's what you think, but you're wrong.
Change my mind.
It is also a gun show symposium. So there's all kinds of cool resources. We're going to have guns, and you'll be able to buy ammo and accessories, and there's going to be food, and there's going to be all the cool stuff. But on top of that, we're going to have a bunch of really cool classes, and one of them is church security. So if you are involved in church security, or you know a friend who is involved in church security, maybe they're the volunteer on the church security team, they're going to want to go to the How to Identify a Public Threat class. So please let them know. Go to gunownersradio.com. While you're there, you're going to want to pick up a ticket or two to Second Amendment movie night, 2A movie night, where we're going to watch the Wolverine movie. And also invite a real estate broker friend to the real estate agent safety class. Check that out online. And then you can also sign up to donate blood. We're going to have a blood donation?
Yes, I do.
How cool is that?
I think it's pretty rad.
So do I. I was thinking about I used to do platelets. I used to donate platelets all the time, and I kind of got away from it. I don't know why. You just kind of you skip once, and then next thing you know, it's not a part of your habit anymore.
Right.
But I want to get back into that because I like.
They quit serving donuts.
Yeah.
It's the cookies after.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I just think I like helping people. I think it's neat. I think there are a few things that really truly objectively matter in our world, and I think helping people without the expectation of getting anything back is probably the closest thing you can get to truly mattering. So if I can sit there for an hour and watch a movie while they take some blood out of me, all the better. I mean, what an easy way to help people. But we're not doing platelets. We're just donating blood. So
just take it all.
Yeah, show up, stick a needle, and donate blood. This might help if maybe your red blood count is a little too high. You can
all the red meat from today.
That's right. If you're a carnivore, you definitely want to donate blood. I wonder if they use that as a strategy, like a marketing strategy.
Give it a try.
Okay, so for tickets and info, go to gunownersradio.com/gunshow. gunownersradio.com/gunshow. So all kinds of cool things are happening. You know, it's such a mixed bag. There's so much good news. There's a couple of things that could be better. But one of the things I want to draw your attention to is the voter guide. Orange County, your voter guide's coming out on Thursday. San Diego, your voter guide is out. If you go to sdcgo.org/voter guide, you will see our voter guide. It's extremely important to participate. Coming up March, I think it's March 5th is the election. There are some very important things that we need you to do. We need you to vote. In fact, ballots have already gone out. So you're going to be getting your ballot in the mail if you haven't already. So check our voter guide. We need you to vote for Central Committee members. Only vote for the ones that we have endorsed, please. We're trying to make the San Diego County Republican Party a better place for gun owners. So help us get the right people elected onto the Central Committee for the Republican Party. That's one way that you can definitely help. And then the other thing is we've included for the first time state-level candidates. So state senator, assembly, there's a couple of really important folks that we need you to vote for. Check it out. We didn't actually endorse, which I think is one thing, Dave, that's a little confusing if you look at our voter guide. What we did is we listed people that Second Amendment state organizations
Well, didn't we used to endorse?
Not on the state level.
Oh.
In fact, that was part of the idea was everyone's paying too much attention to the Congress, the uptick at races.
Right.
We're trying to get them involved in Central Committee, in City Council. But especially last time around, we endorsed the right person for candidate or for sheriff, and she won. Mm-hmm. But what we were finding is we didn't have enough information on, for example, the state level candidates. So they'd have to go to some other voter guide and then see the wrong person endorsed for like sheriff, for example. So we wanted to make it a more complete. We wanted our voter guide to be a more complete experience, Dave.
I agree, because I complained about that last year to you.
Not just last year, Dave. Every year since we've met.
But I only complained once.
So you don't have to tell me things more than once, Dave.
That's why I said it last year.
You don't have to tell me things. You tell it to me once, and 6 years later, it will get done.
Well, that's true.
So there you go.
That's why you.
Imagine how different it could be if San Francisco put out a voter guide. There's a group like you up in San Francisco, Newsom, could have squashed him then.
Could have squashed him.
See,
then.
That's the power you have local here before it gets bigger.
No, I totally agree. But I tell you what, after listening to Dan, I'm more nervous now than I ever was.
And you're pretty nervous.
I'm pretty nervous now.
No. Hey, listen, Dan's a solution. He didn't present a problem.
No. But I mean,
he's opening your eyes to what's already there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I'm too close to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, I see all of this Newsom insanity, and I'm thinking there is no way but anybody in Iowa would vote for this guy.
But it's like Dan said, hey, Dave, turns out penicillin exists. And you're like, wait a minute, you can get an infection? Don't he you know what I mean? Like
I know.
He's the solution. We got to get excited. We got to go, great. We got to get
that's
this
what I said.
California penicillin.
I said it at the very, very end. Don't let this news get you down and think it's over.
There you go.
You got to stay strong, and you got to fight, you got to vote, and you got to get more involved. All I'm saying is I've been hearing this Newsom saying, and then all of a sudden, when he said it,
it's real.
It's real. Yeah. So the penicillin is here.
Yeah. Positive mental attitude, my friend.
Yeah.
You can't give up hope.
But the problem with conservatives is we're just too laid back. It's not going to happen to us.
I think there is definitely a difference between the right side of the spectrum, which is based on a political philosophy of individualism, and the left side of the spectrum,
totally. Black and white.
which is collectivism. And I think that I think that in part leads to what you're talking about. Yeah. We just like, hey, nobody's going to be. Yeah, they will. The collectivism.
And the other thing is, I still have no one's been able to explain to me how it could be 50-50.
What do you mean?
Well, 50% on the left.
Yeah.
And there's 50% on the right.
That is interesting, isn't it?
It's not 49-51.
Yeah.
It's 50-50.
Yeah, I think that.
How could there be half of the country be that stupid?
It doesn't make sense, though, does it?
We're immersed in it. That's how we know. They're not.
But the
he's
numbers.
He's a fresh face to them.
Or do you think these numbers are giving you are not true?
Oh, well, I don't think they're ever true.
Well, true
But
is
it may not be completely accurate.
Yeah.
It's going to be close, I imagine.
I mean, you do a poll, the numbers they give you are the numbers,
Right.
but then just trying to extrapolate that to 350 million people, or in San Diego,
And it's
3.5
50-50.
It is amazing that it's split down the middle like that. I think that it is just kind of I wish that people could see the third side. I got to tell you, walking away from being a Republican,
Right.
And
You
saying,
can
"Hey,
see
I'm
the third side."
You really do. You really do. And people, I don't know, people don't believe me, but when you walk away and say, "Hey, you know what? That team isn't my team anymore. I'm just going to think for myself."
Wait a minute. I just forgot to tell you the greatest news.
Oh,
If Trump goes into office,
yeah, I've heard of them.
Taylor Swift and that guy she's dating are leaving the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On Facebook.
It's going to be weird. How's he going to play for Kansas? He's
gonna-
where are they going to go?
Zoom.
Where are they going to go?
You know what's funny? Nobody ever says where they're going.
They just say they're
They're
leaving.
just leaving.
You know how they combine names all the time? Like when you have a couple, they combine names. My favorite so it's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Trailer. I think is I like that.
Hey, not me. It's for women by women and is designed to help women with training, purchasing a gun, getting concealed carry permit, and guess what? It's free.
What?
Yeah, and if you're a woman or you know a woman that needs help, have her sign up, and we will get her all the help she needs. To sign up, go to notmesd.org. In fact, that ranch I told you about,
Atola Ranch.
so I gave him the card, so he's going to put that up at the ranch for
You're
all the gun shooters.
Good.
going.
That's awesome. He's awesome.
And then Desi, who walked out, she's getting a bunch of the girls from the union for electrical workers.
What do you mean, Desi, who walked out?
Desi, the girl that was in my other show, she's a electrician on my radio.
name's
radio
Desi?
show. Yeah, another Desi.
Oh, that's interesting.
So she's got a bunch of
What
women that are
coincidence.
electric.
Well, that's another thing. At the gun show on March 2nd and 3rd, you're going to get an opportunity. We're going to have a raffle that benefits Not Me California and helps fund our women's group. And you're going to get 10 people are going to win an AR. So we're going to have 10 different
You
ARs.
have to be a girl?
You can be anything you want. You can identify as anything you want.
Okay.
And we're not checking anything. As far as
I appreciate that.
that's not really. I can't even imagine what that booth would look like, Dave. If we're selling a raffle ticket and then having to, it's just not on my.
Hey, we can have Joe do the examination.
I'm going to fly Joe Petrolino out and have him check for us.
I think he should.
John Petrolino, the Pen Patriot, my very favorite author, my buddy, my passion.
And you just volunteered him for the weirdest job in his life.
Seriously, is just the best guy ever. There's so many good people in the Second Amendment community, and I just think the world of John, and he's here with us right now. John, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you? How are you doing, Dave, Alicia, everyone, patriots across the country? How are you? How are you?
Well, we're doing
Doing
great
good.
till you find out the job you've got at the gun show.
I've been listening again.
No,
And he
don't
still
do it.
likes us.
Don't do it.
He is
still
coming out.
likes
He won't be out for the gun show, unfortunately. Aww. But you're coming out for gun policy, right? Aren't you, in September?
It's on the calendar so far for GRPC.
Yep.
So nothing's set in stone yet, but it is on my calendar. I haven't made my plans yet, but it's highly probable, I guess, is the words that I'm using, and that's going to be September 27th, 28th, and 29th. So everybody can mark their calendars, and that's the Second Amendment Foundation.
Second Amendment Foundation, or as he wants me to call it, SAF. That's the new hip way of referring to Second Amendment Foundation as SAF. So I'm trying to do Adam Kraut. You'd be proud of me, bud. SAF. So SAF, they do their gun rights policy conference every year for it's like 40 years now, right?
I think something like that. They are SAF themselves. They are celebrating their 50th year this year, so that's coming up in August. So that's their big anniversary.
So they're going to be out here, and you pretty much go every year, don't you?
When I can, I try to. Yeah.
What give us a 20 seconds of, because I honestly, I'm taking it as a huge compliment that they decided to have it here in San Diego. I'm taking it as a slap on the back for, an attaboy for San Diego County gun owners and all the great things that we've done. That's the way I'm taking it. I don't know if they see it that way, but that's the way I'm taking it. So,
well, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
The gun rights
just tell me.
conference.
I just want to be enough, John. Can you just tell me? Just say, Mike, you're enough. Maybe
Michael,
not.
You're not enough. You're more than enough. You're just beyond. You go beyond.
Anyway, so talk a little bit about it. What can people? What the reward they're giving us by having it here in San Diego? What can we expect? What do you do there?
So, Gun Rights Policy Conference together. They gather together a lot of different movers and shakers in the Second Amendment arena, and this is where you get a lot of information about the legislation and the litigation that's going on all over the country. So SAF is involved in a ton of litigation, and they have subject matter experts come on out to talk about, their opinions, what's going on, as well as the work that's going on. So you'll have a lot of attorneys. So if you're a law geek, if you like that kind of thing, attorneys come out and they do a lot of talks, and also advocacy groups. So groups all over the country will come out that are participating, and you'll get up-to-date information on what's going on as well as strategies going forward.
And it's a great way to get even more connected. I don't know if there aren't too many people in the Second Amendment world that are more connected than you are. You do such a good job of covering things that need to get covered. How do you find your information? Like what happens that makes you decide, hey, I need to write about this?
It's a combination of things, and I do a lot of scouring of the internet, of course, as well as social media. I mean, social media is a breeding ground for all kinds of great stuff. You get that up-to-date, information, what's going on all over the country right there. So social media has gotten me plenty of leads to follow up on and look into. And then there's also aggregate information. I've got some automated tools that help me get info. And then, building up your base. So I have, slowly built up my base to where now I've got people coming to me. So stories basically come into my inbox almost on a daily basis. There's something to cover. And I'm always happy to hear from people too. So if you've got something going on anywhere in the country or the world for that matter, Second Amendment related, you can send me an email, john@thepennpatriot.com. And, I'll take it in and listen to what you have to say. That's another good way for me to get info.
And you have a really cool announcement, don't you? That's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, right?
I do. I just launched my own website. So as you know, for a number of years, I've been freelance writing for a whole bunch of different websites, nothing contractual. It's always just been freelance, but I've put out in the neighborhood of over 700 Second Amendment related articles over the last couple of years. Wow. And most of that's been since 2020, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's some going back to 2015, but we're not talking about the numbers that I have now. But I just launched my own product and travel review site called The Square Reviews, and it's going to be a little bit of everything. It's going to be brutally honest, so you can pay me to give you a good review. You could pay me if you want to, that's fine, but I'm not going to give you a good review because of it. And I want to get, my perspective out there to the readers and what I think about different things that I've had a chance to test, as well as other writers. So I've got a couple of other people that are going to be working with me. I'm slowly rolling them out as they get content together. And this is going to be hopefully a new clearinghouse where you could go to get really honest reviews and, something that's trustworthy.
That's very cool. So reviews on what's an example?
So the very first review that I did was the world's largest entertainment McDonald's in Orlando. And the reason why I did it, I went down there, and this gave me an opportunity to also take my leisure time and incorporate that into my professional life and, share some of these other really wonderful, rich experiences that I'm having in my life in another way. If it's not 2A, I can't cover it. Well, at the Square Reviews, if I'm reviewing it, whatever it is, I can cover it. And the world's largest McDonald's. Why did I review it? Because all of these TikTokers and viral video people talk about it and how great it is, and you can get pizza and you can get cheesesteak and chicken and waffles. Well, I didn't necessarily have that experience. So if you go over to squarereviews.com, you can read my review about the world's largest McDonald's, and it's not all that, in my opinion.
I will gladly pay you on Tuesday for a McDonald's.
I knew you were going to say that.
And other things that are up there now. So there's 11 posts right now. The plan is to roll out at least a post a week. That's at least the goal. So right now we're sitting on 11. I rolled out the website a week ago on Friday, so on February 2nd. And some of the things that were on the site when we rolled it out was, a couple flashlight reviews, a holster review, the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. That was a really cool location that I went to.
The Ark Encounter? That's cool. I'm going to read that. Were you and I just?
You and I talked about this.
I was going to say you and I were talking about this, weren't we? Okay,
we were.
Give me so talk about what were your thoughts on? First off, I don't know if you mind telling me. Are you particularly religious?
I mean, I'm Catholic, so take from that what you will.
Yeah. All right. So you feel a lot of guilt, right?
As we talked about, I went to the Ark Encounter, over the summer with the family. I kind of dragged them there. I was like, hey, we're driving through the area. We got to check this out.
Right.
And it's a built to scale, world size, life size Ark, 500 feet. The thing is huge. And it's really an interesting masterpiece of engineering. And, depending on your, religious leanings and what your beliefs are, depends on whether or not this type of museum or theme park or attraction is for you. In the general broad stroke brushes here, it's just a really cool location to check out,
Are there any animals in there?
There's a unicorn. There's a unicorn outside. They wouldn't.
They have a zoo.
They had some Humpty-back camels inside.
Oh, they do have a zoo.
But then the unicorn.
We did feed some camels. We fed camels. It was like they have a zoo.
Well, it's so funny that they advertise it on TV, but they never tell you where it's at.
It's in Kentucky, but if you want to learn about it, go to the squarereviews.com.
It's on Mount Ararat.
Go to John's website.
I'll go to John's website.
There you go.
Okay, so we're going to keep talking to John. I got a lot I want to talk to him about, but give your website so people can check it out during the commercial.
thesquarereviews.com, and please check out all the social medias. Everything is The Square Reviews, except for Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is _review. Somebody else took that name. I don't know.
Yeah.
They got it before me.
We'll get them.
Facebook, Instagram, The Square Reviews, and thesquarereviews.com.
A lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great, but it's just not getting customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words that make it easy for your customers to understand what you do and how to buy. Stop wasting money today and schedule a call. Getting started is real easy. Visit sagetree.com. Click on the Schedule an Appointment button. That's sagetree.com. And click on that Schedule a Call button right now.
Okay, we're talking to my best buddy, the guy I respect the most in the Second Amendment community, the pen patriot, John Petrolino. Congratulations on your new launch. I think that's very, very cool. I'm looking forward to learning more about it and I feel like you just gave me a cool opportunity to be a part of your life, and I think that's awesome.
Thank you, Michael. And it is very exciting. And I'm actually very grateful for a number of people. And, of course, partners like you guys at Gun Owners Radio and all of the other people that I link up with. I'd be very remiss, though, if I did not throw out a gigantic hat tip to the guys over at news2a.com. News2a.com, those guys bailed me out more than one time while I was building the website. So they were absolutely pivotal in helping me get this off the ground. And something that one of the founders of news2a.com said was, iron sharpens iron. And, those are precepts that you guys believe in. Those are precepts that I believe in. And I even put that in my About Us area of the website is iron does sharpen iron. And, my role as trying to be an ambassador to different consumers and people looking for information is giving that honest review, but also working with companies. If there's something that I don't like, I'm going to reach out to the company and say, hey, give me your opinion on this, give me your spin on this, and I'm not going to just burn them. I want to know what they have to say. And that's another part of the website is I have interviews as well. So we talked about the Ark Encounter. I also got some interview questions. I did an online thing with the founder of the Ark Encounter, Ken Ham. One of the other products I reviewed was something called the Cigar Minder. And I did a Zoom interview with the inventor of the Cigar Minder. So the website's going to have a little bit of everything in there as well. And, I'm very happy to try to give people also a platform to talk about their stuff as well. So thank you.
I want to talk about my stuff. I got to figure out what stuff I have, and I want to figure out what I can talk to him about. That'd be awesome. That'd be cool.
You can have him find new spaghetti.
So what's a super interesting Second Amendment story in the last few months? What's something that really stuck with you, or something that you're following now, or something that you think people should be even more engaged with?
I mean, it's, as you know, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
So there's just so much going on. I can't even take it all in. I just recently rolled out an article talking a bit more about the SAFE Act in New York, and it's part of a series that I've been working on for about the last 2 years. I did some trolling on the ATF. ATF sent out this social media post recently talking about Black History Month, and I just wanted to point out the irony on how the ATF, executes laws that are disproportionately levied against the black community. So I think that's kind of tone deaf of them. But the big stories, obviously the sensitive location stuff, the Hawaii story, that was just bizarre. The Hawaii Supreme Court, ruling against the people, against the right to carry, and all of the sensitive location stuff. And you guys are dealing with some of this nonsense too in California. Yeah. All of this is going to come to a massive head, again. And hopefully the Supreme Court puts this to bed once and for all.
Well, can you imagine? I mean, my whole thing is to, make local, put that on people's radar. Who's on your city council? Are you really paying attention to your city council and your school board? But all these lawsuits and what you just described about the sensitive areas and all that other stuff, the next presidential election is crucial because the next 4 to 8 to maybe even 12 years, you're definitely there's gonna be another Supreme Court pick somewhere. And right now, we have a fairly pro-Second Amendment Supreme Court. If that goes away, we're done. We're done. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
You just opened up a can of worms.
I know, right?
Big old balls.
My opinion of the matter, and this is not political, this is from a very libertarian standpoint. I'm not very partisan. If I'm going to say air quotes, we lose the Supreme Court, we're going to lose the country, period. End of story.
That's the fact. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about that, actually. How do you feel? Because you and I do see eye to eye on being nonpartisan. I don't know how. I mean, don't you? What are your thoughts on being a Second Amendment activist? Being somebody who cares about the Second Amendment. That's your number one thing, or it's in your top 3 or whatever, right? It's one of your hot button items. You're involved. You're on the ground. You're an activist. It's something that's important to you. You come to the monthly meeting and get the free pizza. Being nonpartisan, I don't know how someone can be partisan and be pro-Second Amendment. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you get into this nonsense that this is a right of the right, and that's exactly it. It's nonsense. And I hate to bring up examples, but there's like trolls out there. And I had a guy trying to expose a very good friend of mine for giving donations to Democrats. And, this guy owns a gun range. He's a huge Second Amendment advocate, activist. And this guy's trying to troll up this, his political contributions. Say, hey, does this surprise you? It kind of surprised me. I'm like, dude, do you not know how the world operates? I'm like, you have to grease the wheels. I'm like, if he's donating to those Democrats, those are Democrats that supported the Second Amendment. This isn't about conservative politics. This is about Second Amendment politics. I really don't care about the rest of it. So if you want to come to the range and you want to support my right to protect myself, protect my family, you're all right in my book. The rest of it is noise, man.
Yeah, it is. It feels like you can't serve two masters. You know what I mean? You can't be a devout, Republican or Democrat, whatever, or Libertarian, and be pro-Second Amendment. At some point, you have to make a choice, because so many times, an individual who is a part of a party turns on us. So many times, I've had Republicans that are, red-blooded, meat-eating Republican, conservative, whatever, blah, 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 and they come to our meetings, and then they turn around and vote for, an assault weapons ban. They vote for a gun ban, something like that, It's happened. And they're devout Republicans, and look at me, and they wear the red tie, and they have the American flag on their lapel, and then they stab me right in the back. And I don't know how someone can be a devoted Republican and still be a devoted Second Amendment. At some point, you got to make a choice, Well,
it's, you get into right, you get into left, the right is fractured between social conservatives and, fiscal conservatives and libertarians. That's kind of like the libertarians kind of hang out there, but not always, so you don't have a very unified party, but to me, again, back to the original point, this shouldn't be a right or left thing.
Yeah.
And, Michael, you've supported Democrats, you've supported Republicans, you've supported independents. And to you, again, it gets back to where the rubber meets the road. What are your views on the Second Amendment? And then what are you going to do for us? How are you going to preserve our rights? I could care less how much money goes into the coffers of a Democrat as long as he's going to support our cause.
Really, truly. I mean, Second Amendment is, your own personal safety. It's your own personal preservation, and the preservation of loved ones around you. And that really is it's not a partisan issue. That's not something that only resonates with the right, only resonates with the left. Now, I think that they look at it from different angles. They want to accomplish the same goal from different angles. But I also think that it doesn't have to be partisan. That everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to make sure that they're okay, their family's protected. That sort of thing. But I'll tell you, especially like when COVID happened and the BLM riots were happening and all, there's chaos a few years ago. All that political rhetoric, all that nuanced hem and haw went right out the window, and people understood the most effective way to defend myself is to make sure I can defend myself. And the most effective self-defense tool ever invented by mankind is a firearm.
Oh, I agree.
So the gun
100%.
the gun shops were suddenly full of man buns and yoga instructors, and you name it. And people said, you know what? I need to be able to defend myself.
Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Well, what's an article that you wrote recently that you really like?
Something that I wrote recently that I really like. I kind of did some trolling again on the ATF. Over a press release that they had. I wrote this was over at news2a.com, and it's machine gun nomenclature. It's going to read potato moment. Potato, but it's potato.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you write that. And words matter, and it's one of the pieces that I kind of dissect the weasel words, and there's a lot of that's out there. That's something that I want everybody to pay attention to, the weasel words. And one of the things that healthcare does too, the word credible messenger. I want people to run when they hear credible messenger. There's a lot of work that's going on right now in suicide reduction and things like that. And credible messenger is one of those words that's kind of toxic from the quote-unquote non-policy people that are just doing the statistics. And, it's all garbage.
Credible messenger meaning someone that they agree with. Someone that's putting statistics out there that I agree with, that makes them credible? Is that...
Yeah, so it's if they want me to shill for them, like, this guy, he's a credible messenger. He's going to speak to the gun owners. Listen, I'm not going to be your Lorax.
I see.
You support policy that I want nothing to do with. Not me.
Did you just make a Lorax reference? That was awesome. See why this guy's my favorite in the whole world?
Hey.
All right, where should people go to find more about you, John? Where they want to read about you, they want to see what you're up to, they want to support you, where do they go?
You can check out me at thepenpatriot.com. Check out the new website, thesquarereviews.com. If you all want to reach out to me, John at thepenpatriot.com. I want news tips, I want ideas, and I want to hear from you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate everything
buddy.
you do.
Hey, get ready for a gun show like no other.
There you go.
It's the San Diego Gun Show, sponsored by USCCA. You need to join us on March 2nd and 3rd at the beautiful new venue, the Legacy Center in Mission Valley. There's so much to do and see. On top of the gun show, there's the Gun Owners Symposium, in-person classes, 2A movie night, virtual firearm simulator. There'll be a blood drive, training deal table, and a lot more. Get details today and tickets as well. Go to gunownersradio.com/gun show in the San Diego Gun Show, sponsored by USCCA. Get tickets at gunownersradio.com/gun show.
Big thanks to USCCA for being the sponsor of our March 2nd, March 3rd gun show. Awesome job, guys. Thank you so much for the support. Okay, time for everybody's favorite segment, Sam the Gunman in Stump My Nephew. Sam the Gunman is my nephew, and we found out years ago he's extremely good at gun trivia. So if you send us a question, and it has to do with guns, and we use it on the air, we will send you a hat or a shirt. We'll even send you the right size if we can. And if you stump my nephew, then we're going to give you something really cool. It's going to be 2 hours at Shore Shot up in Oceanside, where Phil has a really cool at his facility.
Facility, that's
and,
it.
And you're going to get to
down by the seashore.
Down by the seashore, and you're going to get to shoot with Phil, and he's got a really cool simulator that's educational and fun. So, Sam, how you doing, bud?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Good. Are you watching Taylor Swift?
No.
Okay. Are you watching? You're not watching the Super Bowl at all?
Yeah. It's on in the background. I was with some friends.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Well, here we go. I haven't been the one to ask a question in a long time, so I'm going to do it. Do you mind if I ask
Go
the question?
for it.
All right. Okay. Michael from San Francisco asks.
Didn't know you moved.
After the Civil War, Colt and Winchester entered an agreement where Colt would not make lever-action rifles and Winchester would not make revolvers. What did Colt do to get around this agreement?
Who was that? Michael from San Francisco?
That's the guy.
So that's correct. That's a kind of an obscure piece of firearms lore in the question there. Colt not being allowed to make rifles and Winchester not being allowed to make handguns by, again, gentleman's agreement. There wasn't any legally binding contract saying they couldn't do this. But this is an area of firearms history in which I'm not too terribly well versed, but if I recall correctly, Colt tried making revolving rifles to try and get around that because they were allowed to make revolvers and they knew how to make revolvers. But I might be mistaken there. Give me the answer.
I know that that is one of the things that they did do. There's something else. There's another thing that they did. There
was more specifics in the question. When he rephrased it, he was more broad. That I think is throwing him off.
Exactly. Okay, so after the Civil War, Colt and Winchester entered an agreement where Colt would not make lever-action rifles and Winchester would not make revolvers. What did Colt do to get around this agreement? So there's one particular rifle that Colt made that wasn't a lever action rifle, which you just said that, yeah, they were making some revolver rifles, which is accurate. There's one other specific one that they made that they're looking for, and I don't know if you're going to be able to come up with it. Is
it a slide action?
It's a pump action, which is what you're
okay. Yeah, so same thing.
Yeah. You remember what it was? Wait, do you remember the name of it?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
All right. Okay. Colt created the Colt Lightning, a pump-action rifle nowhere nearly as popular as the Winchester 1870. The Colt Lightning, like a lot of pump-action rifles, were short-stroking, magazine-feeding issue nightmares. So it was a pump-action rifle. I forget. I think this was in 22. I want to say the Colt Lightning. I think it was in 22, but I could be wrong. And it was a pump action rifle, and it was just an absolute nightmare. They couldn't get it. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was a Bob Marley "We Be Jammin'" nightmare.
Or a Taylor Swift "I fell off the stage."
Anyway, are you familiar with the Colt Lightning? Are you familiar with pump action rifles at all?
I'm somewhat familiar with pump-action rifles, but I must admit I'm really not familiar with the Colt Lightning at all. That was a really tough question.
Pretty obscure, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Well, Mike from San Francisco, you get to go to Sure Shot for a couple hours.
Right, on your nickel.
I think we're
not flying them down.
I think Michael from San Francisco is going to take Dave from San Diego, and you and I are going to go and
we're going to meet.
Do that. That'd be fun.
By the way, if you want to know the calibers on it actually was not 22. It was chambered in. There are three options: 3220, 3840, and 4440.
3220, 3840,
and 4440.
And 4440.
Yep.
You know, I would have guessed, and I'm not joking. I would have guessed 3840 as one of the chamberings. 3840 and 4440 were relatively common early, like first generation black powder cartridges, pretty much right after the advent of, or I should say, mass adoption of fixed ammunition.
Really? Tell us about the 3840.
3840 and 4440 were relatively low power for rifle rounds, but part of what made them popular, especially in the Old West, was you could get both rifles and handguns chambered in those calibers. So if you had a revolver in, a Colt revolver in 3840 or in 4440, and you bought a Winchester lever action carbine in the same caliber, you only had to carry around one type of ammunition. It's the same sort of the same reasoning behind modern pistol caliber carbines of, if I have a rifle that shoots 9mm, I can practice for cheap using the same ammunition and magazines from my Glock or whatever you have. So it's what's old is new again. Nothing like time is a flat circle. There's never a new invention.
Time is a flat circle.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you. I think I've asked you this about 12 times. Did you ever see that Mark Wahlberg movie, Shooter?
No, I must confess I have not.
Okay. Have you ever heard of something called paper patching?
Paper patching?
Yeah.
Are you referring to the practice of when hand loading ammunition, putting a patch behind a soft lead bullet to take up the gap?
No, what they were trying to do, and it's driving me crazy because if it's in the movies doesn't mean it's real. But in the 1800s, they would take paper and wrap it around the round, so when it went through the barrel, it would you could match the that particular round, even though it wasn't shot out of it. I think twice. I just never heard of it.
Yeah, so similar concepts to what I brought up. If you look at 450 Martini Henry ammunition, or I think that's what the Martini Henry shot, you'll see, if you look at the original loadings, you'll see this ring of paper behind the bullet, and that's actually a patch, a round patch loaded into the case behind the bullet to better seal up that gap between the projectile itself and the rifling on the inside of the barrel.
Okay, that actually makes more sense than they did on the movie. But if you get a chance, watch it. I did. I watched it again last night.
He takes out the firing pin, right? Isn't that the key to how he gets off? Remember?
Yeah.
Anyway,
pretty interesting.
All right. Well, cool. Sam, awesome job. Thanks so much. I don't know. I think, what are we doing? Are we giving him partial credit on that?
I think
or do we
so.
stump?
Well,
yeah, he knows.
So I think the multiple correct answers, and he chose one.
He just didn't know the name.
That's true.
Well, he gave an alternate answer, which I feel was still correct.
That's true, because they did make revolver. How successful, real quick before we go, how successful were the revolver rifles? Was that fairly successful or not really?
No, the concept is inherently flawed for reasons of physics, which I don't have time to get into.
All right, fair enough.
So go to your room.
I know. I felt like I just got in trouble.
I know. You just got in trouble.
Jeez, all right. I don't know.
Awesome
job,
buddy.
Sam.
Hey, get back to your friends.
All right, thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, Sam.
Hey, everybody, before we go, don't forget, go to sdcgo.org/voter guide. Share that voter guide. Use it, but also share that voter guide. Help us get it out. You know, we spend a lot of effort in the off-election season to create these avenues so that we can communicate who we need to, who we need you to vote for. We do a lot of vetting, so here we are. So
How do we find the guide?
Go to sdcgo.org/voter guide, or go to SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.com/voter guide.
Make sure you do it, and we'll see you at the gun show.
There you go, March 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, go buy your movie tickets.
Oh yeah, can you do it at the door?
Go buy them right now, because we need it to sell out before. So it's a lot easier to buy your go buy your ticket. Buy your tickets, because you don't have to wait in line or whatever. We're trying to do this like it's 2024 rather than 1984. So
how much is popcorn?
Cheap.
That's what I want to
Some of the cheapest, but it's only $25 to come watch a movie with us. It's under 20. It's like $15 to go to the show, to go to the actual gun show symposium. So go to the gunownersradio.com. Gunownersradio.com. Buy your tickets today. Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.